Pitch Talk on twitch.tv/SportsTownShy with your host, Scotty K.
Yeah, we're back, boys. Let's go. I'm Scotty K. This is Pitch Talk. And, a lot going on today. We got a lot going on today. This is going to be a pretty fun episode because international break, man, is really just the best. I love international break so much. It really is just the best time we ever have. You know, there's no real meaningful games going on. It just means so much more when international break comes on. It is the best time of the year when players don't even end up playing because they don't want to get hurt in international break, because playing for their, club means a little bit more when these games literally mean nothing. But San Marino's playing. That's all that matters. They have the chance to go 5 points up in their league. That is what matters. They're playing Gibraltar. They have a shot. All right, this is another week where San Marino have a shot to win. And that is all that matters. Anyways, let's get into it, boys. Here on Pitch Talk, we got a lot to talk about. Recapping games from last week. We'll go over some international break stuff that's already happened. Then a lot of news, really. There's a lot of rumors going around. Some topics I want to discuss, including Red Bull and what they have been doing in the past week. Not a certain team, the actual company for soccer. Also, going to touch on MLS, some signings and managers for the Chicago Fire. And then also, speaking of managers, we'll get into the pressure on Erik ten Hag and Manchester United. And maybe some other teams we'll touch into. Also, we'll talk about OneFootball doing a fans vote for who they think is the GOAT. Stay tuned for who you think got voted the GOAT of soccer. This is Pitch Talk. Make sure you're following on Twitter at Pitch Talking. I'm Scotty K. And let's get right into it. We had a lot of games last week. It was a week in soccer. It was definitely a week. We had Champions League during the week, so kind of made Friday a little bit more boring, but let's get into it now. So starting on Friday, Valencia 0-0 draw. Augsburg 2-1 win over Borussia Mönchengladbach. Napoli got a 3-1 win against Como. And they played in Napoli, and the Como fans apparently, this has come out like after it, the Como fans loved the reception they got from Napoli. They got they lost, but the fans treated them very nicely. So I guess they're doing some accommodation for when Napoli come to Como later in the season. So got some nice fan stuff going on in football. That's that's the big thing we really care about. Marseille took another little tumble, 1-1 draw to end Angers. I mean, they haven't lost yet. Got to stick with that. Bundesliga 2 got some problems. Made some rounds over the weekend as there was an instance where there had to be a penalty. And why was the penalty? Well, the goalkeeper sent it out to his guy. And his defender picked up the ball. Unknowing, he just picked up the ball. Resulted in a penalty. Then later in the same game, the same thing happened. Well, not the same thing. There was a play. It was like, oh, it could have been a foul, but it wasn't. And they thought on the field, the defender thought it was going to be a foul, so he just went and picked up the ball. But no, that's kind of not how it works. So Bundesliga 2, you got to figure it out over there, bud. Going to Saturday, Liverpool 1-0 win over Crystal Palace. Good game there for Liverpool to just get an easy win. Arsenal 3-1 win over Southampton. No real problems there. Brentford and Wolves, a 8-goal, 5-3 thriller in favor of Brentford. The fact that Brentford's offense is this good without their best goal scorer from last season is honestly surprising, and you love to see it. I mean, 3 goals in the first half, 2 goals in the second, and the second goal came very early. I mean, this was 3-2 at halftime, and just a great out of the gates goal coming out of the second half for Brentford. So they're on a roll right now. Another team that's kind of getting into a little bit of a groove is Jamie Vardy and Leicester City beating Bournemouth 1-0. Bonanet getting the goal in the 16th minute, and then it kind of became slow after that, only a 1-0 win. Man City stumble a little bit with Fulham, but they end up getting the win 3-2. Kovacic getting a brace, and then the game winner by Jeremy Doku in the 82nd minute. Really, it ended up being the game winner because Muniz scored in the 88th. So, I mean, a little bit of a stumble for Man City, but they were able to get the win. It definitely wasn't the best game, but they're playing Fulham. It's all right. West Ham get back on track. They really needed this one. They really needed a game against Ipswich, and they got one. Jared Bowen getting the assist to Michail Antonio in literally the first minute. And then Liam Delap, I mean, I called him out, I think, a couple of weeks ago where I said Liam Delap needs to pick him up a little bit. And ever since then, he has been playing some pretty good ball. I mean, I want to go to his actual page real quick. I mean, 21-year-old playing at Ipswich, 4 goals on the season already, and a 77.78 shot accuracy. Like, he's playing pretty good. Even defensively, is even stepping up a little bit defensively. 67 duels, winning 37% of them. As a striker, that's pretty good. 8 clearances, 1 interception, and 3 tackles. But you don't really see these kind of stats out of a striker like that. I think maybe him being 21 is going to keep him in that kind of state where he can do stuff like that. But this was an all-around great game from West Ham. There was some goods from Ipswich, and you like to see that from a team that's fighting, but it was really just an all West Ham game. 0-0 draw between Everton and Newcastle, 2 teams that are basically kind of in the same state, but the fact that Everton is 16th makes them way worse. Newcastle, they're not going to hold this at 7 for the rest of the season, in my opinion. They're just not sitting that well. Moving over to Spain, Getafe 1-1 to Osasuna. Real Madrid 2-0 win over Villarreal, a game they really needed. A brilliant goal by Federico Valverde, and then Vinicius Jr., I think, just keeps on adding to that Ballon d'Or status. That was some goal he scored. Let's see, any other game in La Liga that weekend? Not on that day, not really. Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund. I needed Borussia Dortmund to win or draw to hit 2 different parlays, and they blew it. 2-1 loss to Union Berlin. I mean, I don't really know what the problem is with Borussia Dortmund. And, I thought that Sehu Guirassy, maybe Gittins getting the start kind of messes some stuff up. But, I mean, they destroy some teams, but then they go out and lose some really bad games. I mean, they're 3-1-2 in the season already. And their 2 losses are a bad one against Stuttgart, 5-1, and then 2-1 loss to Union Berlin. You don't really like to see that from Dortmund. Bayer Leverkusen get halted a little bit to Holstein Kiel, 2-2 draw. Anyone else there? Wolfsburg getting a 3-1 win over Bochum. We go to Serie A, Atalanta and Genoa. Atalanta destroy this one 5-1. And then Inter Milan getting a 3-2 win over Torino. A Torino team that's really surprised in the early stages of the year, already sitting at 7th place with only 3 points off of 2nd place. And that's 3 losses in a row for Torino. They're starting to fall off a little bit. A loss against Empoli, a loss against Lazio, and then Inter Milan. So maybe Inter Milan getting back on track, and Torino's finally getting that fall off that we kind of would predict from them. But Marcus Thuram in this game, a hat trick from him, absolutely fantastic to get them a big win that they kind of needed. I mean, they're trying to go off their slow start. So this was a good win for them to get. Lille beat Toulouse lose again 2-1. Is Jonathan David ever going to leave Lille? Honestly, I don't think he should. He's getting good time there. And then what's his face? Engel Gomes just continuing to be a huge bright spot on that team. Scottish Premiership, nothing really. No other real big games on the Saturday. A lot of teams got halted in some of the lower leagues because of playing Champions League and Conference League, Europa League. But we move on to Sunday. Aston Villa, Manchester United played out a 0-0 draw, which, hey, another clean sheet for Erik ten Hag. We'll get into that later in the show, whether I think he should stay or not, and kind of the situation that's going on there. But that's another clean sheet. You got to take that into account. Chelsea gets stumbled a bit to Nottingham Forest. It wasn't the best game they could have played. Madueke, another goal. Cole Palmer, another goal assist. So brilliant job by them. But sitting in fourth place, 14 points, 4 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. Gotta like that. Nottingham Forest, honestly, surprising me so far. Looking also, Tottenham losing 3-2 to Brighton, which the power, like, we have the joke here that, like, oh, teams are the power of friendship. Brighton is that power of friendship team. They just end up beating teams like this. They were down 2-0 in this game, and in the span from the 48th minute to the 66th minute, they were able to come back and win this one. They are literally just the power of friendship team. It is kind of crazy. Moving back to Spain, Girona getting a 2-1 win over Bilbao. That was a very entertaining game. Barcelona getting a 3-0 win over Deportivo Alaves. But the main story is Robert Lewandowski getting 3 goals in this game. And Lamine Yamal getting subbed off very early and honestly didn't agree with it. Which, I mean, look, you got subbed off in the 67th minute in a 3-0 game. Sit for a little bit, dude. You don't have to play all the time. Sevilla 2-1 win over Real Betis, and then Atletico Madrid, another draw for them, this time against Real Sociedad. Bundesliga, Leipzig getting a 1-0 win over Heidenheim. Bayern Munich, a thriller 3-3 draw to Eintracht Frankfurt. And it took a long time for Eintracht Frankfurt, a 94th minute game-tying goal in that one. Yikes, Bayern. Starting to fall off again. Cagliari getting a 1-1 draw to Juventus. Bologna 0-0 draw to Parma. Fiorentina and Milan was some game. There were so many penalties in this game. And not only that, Teo Hernandez and Tammy Abraham both had penalties. And they were saved by David De Gea. He could save the Titanic, ladies and gentlemen. Dude can save the Titanic. I mean, kept them in this game. Now, granted, he gave up a goal 4 minutes after the second penalty save. But honestly, Milan should have won this game 3-2. If you want to look at it that way, they really should have won this one 3-2. I mean, it was an incredible performance from David De Gea. I think he won man of the match, and honestly, he deserved it. Those 2 penalty saves, and they were clean, too. Clean. PSG 1-1 draw to OGC Nice. Lyon 2-0 win over Nantes. Anything else really go on? Just looking around at some other leagues here. Not really much going on. And then they hit international break. I don't think there were games on Monday. Or maybe there was 1 or 2. But, yeah, no, there was nothing on Monday. They hit international break. Yay! I love international break. It's so good. I love it so much. I love when international break happens. There was literally no top league. I mean, there was EFL Trophy round 1, but no one's watching these games. Wrexham played Wolves U21. Yeah, people are going to watch that. Yesterday, no games on. I mean, there was Copa del Rey, but it's the preliminary round. No one's playing in there. Tough. No, I don't like international break. I wish it was. I don't know how you would structure it different, but it is just annoying that basically the whole season comes to a pause for this international break, and literally no one wants it. Going over some games for today. Whoa, Israel's down 2-1 to France. Jumped out to France very early in this one. England's playing Greece. Italy playing Belgium up 2-0 right now. Finland beating Ireland 1-0 right now. Austria beating Kazakhstan 1-0 right now in the 28th minute. Norway beating Slovenia, and who do you think scored? It was Erling Braut Haaland. Of course he did. He's just the main goal-scoring guy. And San Marino are currently drawing to Gibraltar in the 28th minute. We have a shot, ladies and gentlemen. We have a shot. That's what matters. That's all that matters. We're good. We're good to go. They're getting a chance. We're fine. We're going to get through it. That's fine. Tonight, Colombia versus Bolivia, Brazil versus Chile, then Argentina versus Venezuela. When we come back, we got a lot of news to talk about, including some lists over across the world and a lot more coming up next here on Pitch Talk.
This is your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com.
Joe's Hot Dogs has been around since 1953, but I promise it's not old news. You don't have to like hot dogs to like Joe's on Plainfield Road in Joliet. Italian beef, hot dogs, shakes, and sides. My family's had a relationship with Joe's Hot Dogs for 3 generations. Golden fries with a tad bit of salt and the perfect amount of crunch come in a bag as big as your hand. And that's just small. For more on the menu, visit joeshotdogsjoliet.com, bringing that classic Chicago flavor to the suburbs. That's Joe's Hot Dogs across from CVS on Plainfield Road in Joliet.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and Windy City News Radio.
The Illinois Center for Broadcasting is now the Illinois Media School. We've been an institution in the Chicagoland area now for 30 years. Because the broadcasting world is always changing, so are we. Not only are we teaching radio and television production, but now you can learn all aspects of the media industry, like web design. You can even specialize in TV or film, sports broadcasting, and even sales. No matter where you are in the Chicagoland area, we have a campus near you. The Illinois Media School. Be on TV, be on radio, beonair.com.
Maybe that was money. Tell me that wasn't money.
Yo, check us out. We are the go-to guys. I'm your boy Space.
I'm your boy MC.
Check us out every Thursday
from 4 to 5 p.m.
We spitting all facts, all sports, all day.
Yes, sir. Who else you gonna go to in the clutch?
Lillard, long range three, and it's good!
Keeping you up to date with all the latest sports news.
We are
the go-to guys.
Where else you gonna get all your sports news from?
You know,
SportsTownChicago.com.
He's joined by Ndidi. It's fed into Christiansen. It's a low ball across the 6-yard area. Comes out for Taru on the left to right. He's got Vardy! Jamie Vardy! Again for Leicester City. Ageless, priceless, and timeless. Jamie Vardy.
This is Pitch Talk on Twitch.tv/SportsTown with your host, Scotty K.
Oh, yeah, it's a Vardy party. We're talking about goal scorers here on Pitch Talk. I'm your host, Scotty K. And this is going to be a really cool thing to look at here. I saw a quick graphic today. Most goals by front threes in football right now. And honestly, there's some surprises on here, especially where they're at in the actual standings. So this is players from Europe's top 5 leagues this season in all competition. Most goals by a front three. Top 7, because there's a big tie for 4th place. It's supposed to be top 5, but we'll get there. Basically, let's go from number 7. We have PSG, Barcola, Dembele, and Kang In have 13 most goals this season. Sitting 7th, which honestly we thought they were going to be a massive downgrade, but Barcola and Dembele are really stepping up there. I don't really know about Kang In, but this is a huge step up for those guys, Barcola and Dembele. Then this is a little bit of a surprising one for me. There's a 4-way tie for 4th place. At the bottom of it, we have Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson, and Madueke. You'd think with all the goals Madueke and Palmer have had that they'd be a little higher on this list, but they're not. It's kind of weird, but they're tied with Mbappe, Vinicius, and Rodrigo. We'll get into them later about should we be worried about that front three. They should be running through teams, but it's going to take some time, but we'll talk about that later. They're tied in fourth place with Demovic, Undayev, and Malot for Stuttgart. Crazy to me that they are in this list, but I'll take that. Third place, there is Salah, Diaz, and Jota. All of these have 14, but Salah and Diaz really stepping up there. That's a great front three, and it's so sad that they're probably going to be gone next year, but that's a great front three for this. Number 2, Kane Olise and Jamal Musiala. 18 goals and goals. They sit number 2 on this list, and for not as bad of a season as they had, but for the year Harry Kane has kind of stumbling a little bit. Olise, it's taking him a little bit to get used to the Bundesliga. They are really stepping up to be number 2. And then number 1, Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Lamine Yamal with 23, number 1, which that front three is insane. When you have Rafinha and Yamal on the wing with them crossing into Lewandowski, that is a killer front three. So great to see that. That's great to see that they are kind of pushing that high. It's a weird count. There's some weird teams in there, and some players that I think should be higher. There's some players that I think should be higher there, but obviously we're still in the beginning of the season. This is all competition, but it's still the beginning of the season. We'll get through it. Moving on, some news during the week. It's going to be a lot of news for this week since there's not a lot of games going on. First thing I want to talk about, Red Bull. Now, a lot of people may know Red Bull from the F1 side, but they actually are a massive soccer I don't want to say problem. May have been called a problem, but they're really not. They're a massive football brand. You got RB Leipzig, RB Salzburg, Red Bull New York. And soon, you're going to have RB Paris as Paris FC, the original team in Paris, because PSG came late in 2006. The original team from Paris has been bought by Red Bull. Now, I think this is going to be a really good thing for Ligue 1. Red Bull have got a pretty good system going on for soccer. I mean, RB Leipzig are always a contender in the Bundesliga. RB Salzburg have destroyed Austria ever since they have started. Maybe that's because of the money that they bring in, but they have been a fantastic team and have won almost every single year. So I think what they're doing there is great. RB New York, now that's a different story. They haven't really been playing great, but in the past, they're always a contender in the MLS. This is a great move. I think this is going to be great for Ligue 1. I would probably guess that it's going to be renamed Red Bull Paris, which is a little tough to see just because this is like the original team from Paris. So it is tough to see, especially with PSG getting all of the big, say in the whole world. They get very popular. The fact that Paris FC kind of fell behind them very quickly was rough to see. But Red Bull taking them over, I think, could maybe bring some more competition to Ligue 1 and make it that kind of more full league that we haven't seen in a long time since PSG have been brought in. Keeping with Red Bull, they have signed a new sporting director. That's Jurgen Klopp, which I think is hilarious. It does come with a weird clause. We'll get into that later. But Jurgen Klopp will be the sporting director for Red Bull. Not for a certain team for Red Bull, but will actually be for the entirety of every club for Red Bull. So he's going to be controlling teams in Brazil, Austria, Germany, now Paris, and the USA. This is a great move. It's I mean, this is something he wants to get into. He is probably waiting for the idea to keep building teams like this. This is a great move. I mean, Jurgen Klopp is a brilliant mind in football. Great move for Red Bull. But the contract he signed is a little weird. It's got a weird clause that says he can leave the role of the sporting director only to become the German national team manager. So I think that kind of sets in the fact that he is going to be the manager for Germany next whenever their current manager ends up getting sacked or just leaves. And I think this is a lot of people's prediction that they thought this was going to happen before he ended up being the sporting director. All around great moves by Red Bull. Jurgen Klopp, it's going to be good to see him back in the swing of things. Keeping with international stories, and I think this is a question we can kind of talk about. Looking at England's soccer stats, I'll pull that up real quick. But they announced their player of the year. And they named it Cole Palmer. They named Cole Palmer their player of the year, which he only has 2 starts all season, which I'm going to go to the 23-24 season. Can I just get all of the 2024 stats? Not just the Euro. There we go. Okay. So, no, this isn't what I was looking for. This is only friendlies. I'm looking for all competitions. I don't like this. Let me just go to the Euro stats. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's just look at the Euro stats. Cole Palmer made 0 starts in Euros. He had 1 goal, 1 assist, so 2 goals and assists. And then he had I don't even know what the stat is. He had one non-penalty goal. Yeah, but didn't start at all for the Euros. And then looking at the non-Euros, let's see, where is he? Gotta find him here. He didn't even play? No. That's even worse. I mean, 2 friendlies. They won both of them, but geez, he didn't even play in the second one. So, didn't even start in the Euros, but won player of the year. Kind of weird. I personally probably would have given it to either Jude Bellingham or Declan Rice. Or I think you can even make a case for Bukayo Saka. But, I mean, Jude Bellingham started all 7 games in the Euros. 2 goals, 1 assist. You can make a case for Declan Rice, a brilliant defender, 1 assist in 7 games. 7 games started per 90. Yeah, I mean, this is it's just a weird thing, small sample size, and I think they are this is strictly going off of them playing for country. So the fact that he ended up being the top one, it's just weird to me. I mean, looking at the rest of his stats, I mean, 1 goal, 1 assist, like I said, 5 games played, 0 started. I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. What is this? I'm looking at passing stats. He's not even one of the best passers. It's a weird one. I mean, let me go to all comp. There we go. All right, looking at this. Cole Palmer, 9 matches, 2 starts, 3 goals, assists. How do you also not give it to Harry Kane? I mean, obviously the Euros weren't great, but was it 17 games, 15 starts, 12 goals in 17 games, 2 assists, 14 goals and assists in 17 games. How could you not give it to him either? Declan Rice goes up to 2 goals and assists. They're 18 games, 17 starts. Jordan Pickford, low-key has a shout, 15 match plays, 18 games played, 18 starts. You can make a case for him too. Jude Bellingham, 13 games, 13 starts, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 goals, assists. Bukayo Saka, like I said, you can give him a shout. 15 games, 13 starts, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 goals and assists. I just don't think you can make the case for Cole Palmer. I mean, maybe in the biggest moments he showed up, but not even that either. I think you can make the best case for either Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, or Harry Kane. I wouldn't even put Cole Palmer close to that list. It's my opinion, but looking at the all competition stats from England this year, he was definitely not the best player for England. Yeah, it's a weird thing there. Quick story here, moving on before we get out of here real quick. We got a story from Italy where Alvaro Morata moved over to AC Milan. Well, he wanted to find a good place to live, so he moved to a small city outside of Milan, and the mayor of that city, or whatever, announced, "Welcome to the city. Cool. Thanks for inviting me." Well, Murata didn't think that was a good idea. He was like, dude, now I have to move because I wanted a quiet life, and you exposed where I live. Thanks for doxing me, dude. So how does the mayor react? He says, ciao, and posts a picture of Inter Milan's badge. That's crazy. That's criminal. You just welcomed him, and then you kicked him out just like that. When we come back, we got to talk about some managers and then some voting for who fans think is the GOAT of football when we come back here on Pitch Talk.
This is your home for sports.
Longtime fan, sports is like life.
SportsTownChicago.com.
What's up, Chicago? If you're ever, and I mean ever, out looking for good urban food 24/7, come down to White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. White Palace Grill is open 365 days a year since 1939. I personally love the steak and egg dinner, but whether you like burgers for breakfast, steak for lunch, or French toast for dinner, White Palace is the place for you. The diner is a 24-hour urban oasis. Come now, come later. Hey, come now and later. We never close at White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. Visit us at whitepalace.com or order with Uber Eats or Grubhub anytime, any day.
Daddy, when you look at me, I could see your wheels turning. About what am I going to be when I grow up? A major league first baseman? Maybe a point guard for a national champion.
The odds of a child becoming a professional athlete are 1 in 16,000. Far-fetched? Maybe. But did you know the odds of a child being diagnosed with autism are 1 in 166? That's right, 1 in 166. To learn the signs of autism, go to autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Go to Lux Barbershop for the best barbers and stylists in Plainfield, Illinois. I go there when I have an important event, date, or I just want to look good. The straight razor shave will have you looking fresh and smooth. Lux Barbershop is open 7 days a week. Go to Lux Barbershop for the finest barbers, stylists, braiders, and massage therapists in the southern suburbs. Check out all their daily deals on Facebook, Instagram, and luxbarbershop.com.
Hi, this is Joe Perry and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith for Red. You know, it's okay to rock and roll and party down. Just don't get in that 2,000-pound bullet when you're done and cocked. And please don't drink and drive. I'm the one that jaded you.
A reminder that friends don't let friends drive drunk. A public service message brought to you by the Ad Council, U.S. Department of Transportation, National Association of Broadcasters, and RAD.
High school sports is here, and SportsOnChicago.com, we are ready to provide the best high school sports live coverage all across Northern Illinois. From the first kickoff of high school football to the final spike of high school volleyball, we at SportsOnChicago.com are ready to bring you high school sports live. SportsOnChicago.com and STC Friday Night Lights in a league of our own.
Primarily quick, angular figure, races forward and tees up a chance, and Spurs have the lead through Brendan Johnson after 2.5 minutes.
I'm tired of suffering.
With a chance with Johnson, three up in support of him, and the touch beyond the flailing arms of Onana by Dejan Kulusevski. And Spurs now have their 2-goal advantage.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And he almost pulled it off. Fair counter take. And that was Sarr, and it's touched in by Dominic Solanke, who scores here for the second season in a row. Last year he did it for Bournemouth. They won 3-0. And Tottenham may be about to repeat that scoreline.
Yeah, it hasn't been the best on Manchester United this year and all of its fans, including myself. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it. It's been a question, and we're going to ask this on Pitch Talk. What do we think about Erik ten Hag right now and the state of Manchester United? It is definitely a tough watch to be a Manchester United fan. What are they doing? It's halftime. San Marino is 0-0 draw. That's what matters. That's what matters more. Moving over to some teams, let's go over to Manchester United. I mean, looking at their year, it's been weird. It hasn't been great. Showing all matches from this season. So, first game against Fulham, sneak out with a 1-0 draw, 2-1 loss to Brighton. Tough there at the end. Dismantled by Liverpool 3-0. Then hey, let's get back on track. 3-0 win against Southampton should destroy that one. Barnsley, they basically played Barcelona. They won 7-0. 0-0 draw to Crystal Palace. All right, slowed it down a little bit. Slowed down. FC Twente, 1-1 draw. Still slowing down, and then Tottenham, 3-0 loss. Boom. 3-3 draw to Porto, and a 0-0 draw to Aston Villa, all the results this season. Now, I think there's multiple ways you can look at this. You can look at it one way, like they're not getting results, they're not getting wins, they're at the bottom of the table. Ten Hag barely showing a way to play. I think it's tough to keep him as manager, bring in someone else. Okay. How about you look at it like this? Fulham, Southampton, Crystal Palace, and Aston Villa. That is 4 league clean sheets. Now, granted, it's Fulham, Southampton, Crystal Palace. Aston Villa is a pretty good one, but that's 4 clean sheets. If the season were to end right now, Andre Onana would be winning the Golden Glove for the most clean sheets in the Premier League. I think that has to be a point. 7-0 win over Barnsley. You can add one in there too. 5 clean sheets for Andre Onana this season. Defensively, unless they go up against Liverpool, Tottenham, they're pretty sound. But this is the one problem I've had with this season is the same faults that were there last season from Erik ten Hag are still a problem this year. And I think the big one is defensively, they just can't handle crosses at all. And you saw it at the Brighton game. They just left them at the back post, wide open, no one covering them, complete confusion on the pitch, no clue what's going on. There has been some rumors in the last couple of weeks that for the Aston Villa game, the entire owners board went to the game as maybe the showing is the last game for Erik ten Hag. If he lost that one, he ended up getting a draw. So they couldn't do much. But there's been a lot of rumors going out on who they could bring in as another manager, and there's basically 2. One is Massi, the old Juventus coach, which I think style-wise doesn't really work, but I think it could work with this new direction that they're going, and also that's who Fergie wants. I would listen to whatever Fergie wants to do, apparently. And then the other one, which I think would actually work, Xabi Alonso. I think that would actually work. You know, he's not coaching for Barcelona anymore. I really think if that were the case, I think he brings a style that could work with this team or who they think they want to bring into this team. Because there's a lot of examples that have come out about players that Manchester United just ended up not signing, and it just doesn't look good. The fact that Erik ten Hag wanted Rasmus Højlund from Denmark when he could have had Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa, tough. The big story, I always say, I wish we could have had Erling Haaland. That was a main thing, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't want to make that. He wanted that signing really bad, but the board didn't approve of it. I think there's a lot of talk about the signings that he's made, and some of them haven't come through. The biggest one being Antony. But honestly, this is some of the players don't even fit, and when you got Mazraoui and Kobe Mainoo going out with injury, it's kind of tough. But the big thing for me with Erik ten Hag is the fact that he plays favoritism a lot. If I was the manager, I would drop Marcus Rashford to the bench for every game this season. He just hasn't been on that top form, and coming off the bench, I think he would add a little bit more to the game, but he doesn't. He starts on the left every single time. Making Garnacho play out of position on the right is a tough look when you're not getting the results. In my opinion, I am still ten Hag in, but it's going a thin line right now. Staying with some managers, the Chicago Fire, we moved to the United States as they have signed Greg Berhalter, the old USA manager, to be the manager for the last place team in the Eastern Conference. How do you guys think he will be at running the club and not a country? I think the problem he had with the U.S. was he had a lot of players with big egos. I'm looking at you, Gio Reyna, and your parents. I think that was a big problem. Their huge media coverage that's crowding that. Him going to Chicago, I think, could actually be a good option. Chicago's known for developing some young talent, and I think Greg has a chance to really do that with that team. And obviously, they've spent the money and have gone to be spending money on big name players. I want to look at his transfer market. He's from Inglewood, New Jersey. Looking at 51-year-old coach. He's got citizenship in Ireland. He's got his UEFA Pro license. Runs a 4-3-3. I think that could work with this kind of team. And looking at his kind of track record, the manager at Hambury from the 2011 to 2013 had 46 matches and a point per match. Pretty good there. Also, let's see. Where is he from? Yeah, he played North Carolina a lot. Went to the Netherlands. Was on Crystal Palace. Went to LA Galaxy and retired there. Then was a sporting director for Columbus Crew and ended up actually becoming their manager at the same time. And he was there for a good 5 years. This is Columbus Crew. This is obviously the hardest part of maybe their career as a club, but they are always a contender, and we're always a contender in the MLS at this time. Then gets promoted to the United States manager role, where he was there from 2018 to 2022. Got fired and then came back to manage again in 2023 to 2024, which is where we saw most of the problems, I would say. 2022 season had a lot of problems as well, but really it was in that last stint. And now being the Chicago director of football as well at the same time, I think this could be a decent move for Greg. I don't think he's got what's his track record of bringing in players. Really not any big name players, but he also really hasn't had the budget for it, really. His highest spend is $2 million, and a lot of it's just low level players. He likes to develop a lot. There's a lot of signings from West Virginia, Penn State, New Mexico, a lot of small guys, that he brings in through that draft, but they've developed into some, pretty good players in the MLS. I think we could give it time with this one, and it could be a good move for the Chicago Fire. Should we be worried a little bit about Real Madrid, Carvajal picking up an injury in the week? And honestly, they just look a little slow. I don't think there's really much to worry about right now. I think we're still too early into the season. Do I question a little bit how slow they kind of are playing and maybe a little one-dimensional? But, this is Real Madrid at the end of the day. They are the top club in the world for a reason. Bringing in new guys that really have never played together in Rodrigo, Vinicius, obviously they have the connection playing there for a while, but bringing in Kylian Mbappe to that front three, they've shown little highlights of everything, but really they got to just keep working on that connection. And also getting Endrick in the game when he's come in, surprisingly, the 18-year-old, he's done a fantastic job. I think we just need to wait up a little bit. Defensive side, especially with the Dani Carvajal injury, we saw how pivotal he was toward the end of the season last year. It could be a tough injury, but the transfer window should be coming up here in a little bit. Starting, is it January 1st or is it December 1st? I think it's January 1st. So they'll be able to start looking for someone. There's definitely some guys out there in free agency that they could go pick up. And then moving on, one last thing. OneFootball, one of the apps we use to look at all of the results and stuff. OneFootball did a fan vote for who they think is the greatest of all time, and it came down to the obvious two. Messi, Ronaldo, and Cristiano Ronaldo won the fan vote. I actually want to look up the OneFootball GOAT vote. Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, after 3,821,492 votes. Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo won the GOAT. Close. 52% of the vote went toward Cristiano Ronaldo in a multiple choice between him and Messi. But hey, if you want to ask me, that is the GOAT. But I'm just a lowly sports talk radio guy. But anyways, when we come back, we're gonna look at some international games that will be going on next week and this week. Kind of some games that maybe you should take a look at. And we'll also touch on some of the first games for next week's round. We'll be able to go deep and more deep into those next week. But yeah, let's get into that when we come back here on Pitch Talk.
This is your home for sports.
This is the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So it's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they are looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m. where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball, news, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. Happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat.
It's with it, and it's got in! Would you believe it? Right at the death, Jovic celebrates. Serbia on level. Heartbreak for Slovenia.
This is Pitch Talk on twitch.tv/SportsTownShot with your host, Scotty K.
Yeah, I thought since international break, we'd bring back one of the old Euro rejoins from the Serbia game. Tying it at the death, and like I said, international break, it's really not my favorite time of year, but whatever. It got some good games. San Marino is a good thing, I guess. They could win, maybe. Who knows? Probably not. They've only won one game in their life, and we were here for it. We were here live reacting to it. Some weird games and good games across this whole weekend and some part of next week. We got Georgia versus Ukraine, which is kind of funny because on Flip for Georgia, they put Georgia University's logo, and they was so. I guess the Georgia football team's playing against Ukraine. That's an incredible game. Sweden, Slovakia, Germany versus Bosnia and Herzegovina. Iceland versus Wales. Netherlands versus Hungary. I mean, these are just some. I don't like international break. It just slows down everything, and you can always pick up injuries in this. This is another big problem with it. With the amount that players are playing in a year, it's kind of tough to have games like this now. I want to get to Saturday, but I don't think One Football is going to let me on here because it's a little slow. Let me go on my phone for looking up the rest of these. One international break, it slows down everything, and it's not fun. Croatia versus Scotland, USA versus Panama. Try and see. Poland versus Portugal. That will actually probably be a good game. Maybe a high-scoring one there. Denmark versus Spain. That's going to be a nice, sweaty one there. that one might be very low scoring, to be honest. San Marino versus Andorra for Sunday. Any other real big ones? Austria versus Norway, England versus Finland, Greece versus Ireland, Gibraltar versus Liechtenstein. What a needle mover there. That one could be incredible. I want to see when the actual games start coming back. Going through Monday. No, nothing really big. France, Belgium, that's a good game. Germany, Netherlands, that's actually going to be those two are going to be pretty good games. Other than that, nothing much. Tuesday, USA, Mexico, Portugal, Scotland. That's going to be a good one. Not because it's just Scotland, it's definitely going to be a good game. Serbia versus Spain. Just looking, trying to see if there's any other pretty good names, pretty good games going on. Nope, that's the end of it, actually. So by Wednesday, international break will be over. And then they'll be back to normal week stuff. Starting on Friday, you get games, but we should be here to recap those ones. Borussia Dortmund started off with St. Pauli. Hopefully they can get back on track. Yeah, and see, and my thing about it is also just looking at some of these clubs, and all the players that are playing. So let's look at France right now. They're playing Israel, and they're starting Christopher Nkunku, Eduardo Camavinga, Randall Colomani. I mean, Michael Olise starting Ousmane Dembele, Tchouameni, Camavinga, like I said, Hernandez, William Saliba, Kanante, Jules Koundé, Mike Maignan. Why do you need to play all these guys versus Israel? You don't. You could destroy Israel with your U21 team. Italy and Belgium. Now, this is a decent matchup, but Openda starting up top. I mean, it's just more games that he could be playing and more games that he could rest up a bit. Looking at England, they're 0-0 draw to Greece right now at halftime, but Jude Bellingham, Foden, Gordon, Rice, Palmer, Saka. Why don't these guys they should get maybe a rest. That's why Kobe Mainu and Mazraoui don't want to play. They picked up an injury, and they don't want to fight through it. Why did I click on San Marino, thinking that there'd be some big-name players there from San Marino? There aren't. That's just my problem. I think it'd be better to maybe give them a little bit of a break, but you're not going to get that. So it's tough. You gotta just fight through it. You're going to get a lot more rumors and stuff to talk about, especially with the Man City case. Apparently, they won a big court battle based on sponsors, and it could affect the rest of the Premier League. Again, the court reports have been very thin, and it's hard to keep track what is actually going on in that trial. But I think the big thing is that sponsorship deal. They basically argued that the money they get from sponsorships, because the people that own Manchester City also own Etihad Airways, which is their shirt sponsor and obviously their stadium right sponsor. Because they own a little bit of it, they were accused of feeding more money into it to get money for transfers and contracts and all that. And I guess they won a court battle basically saying there should be no problem with that. But if any other team is doing that, then that could be a problem. And I think a team like Arsenal was looked at to maybe be a but then Arsenal isn't really owned by the people that own Emirates, so I don't know. It's such a weird situation going on. It's hard to follow the court proceedings, because we there's no live watching like there is some other ones. But yeah, I think we'll get out of here pretty quick. A lot of just news for today. Wasn't real the international break, really not much going on, but that'll do it for us here at Pitch Talk. I graduate tomorrow. That's kind of why I also kind of want to get out, want to go home, get ready for that. So thank you guys for tuning in to Pitch Talk. We'll be back next week to discuss what happens over international break, go through some more rumors. Maybe we'll get into some transfer rumors that teams could pick up. Who should teams pick up in the winter window, and then also predict who should win in the next match week. But thank you guys for joining here on Pitch Talk. We will see you here next week. I'm Scotty K. Thanks for joining. See ya. This has been Pitch Talk on twitch.tv/SportsTownShy with your host, Scotty K. Tune in every Thursday at 3 o'clock to hear all the soccer news.
And now, I'm telling you right now, we're going to win the Champions League!